Minister, and the first question stands in the name of Chris Auchinvole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Finance, what measures has the government taken to achieve faster economic growth and to help hard-working New Zealanders get ahead?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, a comprehensive range of measures. The government has taken a long-term and vigorous view about fixing this economy after the damage done by the previous government. And those measures include across-the-board income tax cuts, company tax cuts, investment in roads, broadband and electricity transmission, cutting red tape, science investment, more money for tourism, getting aquaculture going again, trade negotiations, primary sector growth partnerships, controlling debt and deficits, and fixing the Resource Management Act, among others.
Chris Auchinvole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister, what reports has he seen about the economy's current performance?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, the government has maintained for some time that in an economy trying to reduce debt, a recovery will be a bit bumpy and patchy across sectors and regions. This morning, the Reserve Bank Governor noted that he expected, and I quote, respectable GDP growth. The most pressure in the economy currently seems to be on the small and medium enterprise sector, who have been expecting New Zealanders to start spending again, and that's been slower, and are having some trouble, therefore, raising more debt from the banking sector.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
To the Minister, is he concerned that today's warnings from economists that the economy is not rebounding as expected, with 3 consecutive drops in business confidence and very low business investment? And can he confirm that for many New Zealanders, the recovery has failed to make its way into jobs and wages?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, as I said before, the government has said for some time that in an economy trying to reduce debt, the road to recovery is going to be bumpy and that the recovery is somewhat patchy. I would, however, refer to the fact that while the Reserve Bank Governor has noted that some of the outlook has softened to some extent, but he still expects respectable growth of over 3%, and that is significantly higher than the growth rates in the last 2 or 3 years of the previous Labor government.
Chris Auchinvole.
To the Minister, what challenges does the economy face as the government continues to build the recovery and tilt the economy towards savings, investment and exports?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, I think there's a couple of significant headwinds for the economy as it recovers. One is that New Zealanders are being very careful with their spending and are not rushing back to the housing market. So that means the recovery will be a bit slower than is often the case after a recession. Secondly, the exchange rate hasn't dropped when usually it does, and that means that our export sector will take a bit longer to get going. And thirdly, the world economy, in which we borrow our money and sell our produce, is undergoing a somewhat fragile recovery with risks that could slow down.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Speaker, to the Minister, does he agree that for most New Zealanders this recovery is so bumpy that the recovery has fallen in a hole the size of Jerry Brownlee's mine? Mine with an E, Mr. Speaker, not a D. And that based on his own forecasts, New Zealanders will face 3 years of price increases, outstripping wages, leaving them further behind their Australian counterparts.
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I wish the recovery was as big as that member's ego. But unfortunately it isn't.
Nothing is.
Chris Auchinvole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister, supplementary question.
Chris Auchinvole, order.
Thank you.
Order, we've had our fun. Order. 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 Now, the Speaker's on his feet. We've had our fun. I've called Chris Auchinvole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister, what reports has he seen summarising some of the challenges facing the economy, and what are the recent trends in these areas?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, I've seen one report which said that the economy is unbalanced because we borrowed too much from overseas lenders, building a huge national debt. That is correct. Our total debt to the world has risen from $100 billion in 2000 to $170 billion in 2008. I'd like to thank the opposition finance spokesman on his blog pointing out these major shortcomings of Labor's economic management, because the imbalances in our economy and the resulting unemployment and slow income growth are partly due to the mismanagement of the previous government.
Question number 2, the Honourable Annette King.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question's to the Prime